Currently, there's 1.23 million cubic meters or million tons of this contaminated water at the Fukushima Daiichi plant. But this is not the end of the problem. We're at very early stages of this nuclear disaster. My name is Sean Burney. I'm a senior nuclear specialist with Greenpeace. Contaminated water continues to build up each day. In 2019, the average was about 160 metric tons of water every day, groundwater, becoming contaminated. The Japanese government and Tokyo Electric, the owner of the plant, argue that they're running out of storage space and therefore they have to remove the problem by discharging into the Pacific. That's just not true. Fukushima Daiichi site is a large site, but the Japanese government and TEPCO know that there is enough space to build more tanks and that the deadline of 2022 is actually false. It's a way of the Japanese government trying to justify their decision. Tokyo Electric actually admitted as much last year under questioning in Japan, and even the government's own subcommittee on water, which released its report in February of 2020, admitted that storage space existed both on the site and outside the perimeter fence. It was ruled out because they argued it would take too long and would involve lots of negotiation. That's just not acceptable. If you can avoid contaminating the environment, and in this case by storing the water, that's exactly what you should do. And that's one of many reasons why there's no justification for discharging this water. Tokyo Electric have not found a solution as to how to stop this water coming onto the site and becoming contaminated. The Japanese government's plan is to remove all of that molten material within 10 years, starting in 2021. That lacks all technical engineering credibility. That molten fuel will be there for many decades, if not permanently. The core problem here is the 3 melted reactors and the so-called molten fuels from the Fukushima Daiichi accident. That molten fuel still remains at the site, and it's the source of the contamination. How the water is contaminated is when it moves onto the site, becomes contaminated through interaction with contaminated water in contact with the molten fuel, which means that the water will continue to become contaminated at the site. So any decision to discharge this water is really only the beginning of increasing contamination of the coast of Fukushima, of the Pacific Ocean, and of neighboring seas, including East Sea and the East China Sea. It's another reason why this is not acceptable and is not a solution for dealing with this problem. Greenpeace is deeply concerned with Japanese government plans to discharge nuclear waste into the Pacific Ocean. We've been working on this issue for many years, since the Fukushima Daiichi meltdown began in March 2011. The decision of the Japanese government has not yet been made, and we are determined to continue to oppose any plans to dump nuclear waste from Fukushima into the Pacific Ocean.